Hi friends, it's Sarah from Ruffles and Rain Boots. I've had a lot of questions on this, so I'm going to put together the quickest tutorial that can save you so much frustration. When we are working with items that are cutting, especially when we're working with something like the xTool M2 that doesn't have a honeycomb underneath it, when materials are cut through, they can fall down to the bed of the laser. The air assist could move them, or they could just get over lasered depending on how close everything is set. Cutting tabs into your projects solves any issue of them falling down, getting moved, getting laser overed. So I'm going to show you quickly how to do it. I have a cut project here, but I'm going to change it to engrave so you can see what will happen. For those of you who are new, anything that is solid is going to be the final piece. So we have here upside down in the center a solid backer piece. We then have a mostly solid piece that allows that backer to show through. Where you see the white, the pieces will be cut out of the wood and they'll fall down. These pieces over here will also fall down. While these are normally set up for acrylic, so you can take one, make one a different color, etc., this is going to cut out regardless of the material, right? We have to get these out of here. So when we are in the cut mode specifically, I want to make sure you see if you're in score, you have obviously your settings, power, speed, pass, kerf, and minimum output power. Engrave, we have different settings. We also have bidirectional. We have a couple of advanced settings in here. Now for cut specifically, you have the regular settings, kerf, focus, descent, tab generation, in addition to power control. So this tab generation is where we are starting today. So I'm going to do each of these in a separate color so that you can see each of these can be set all the same or different. The easiest one to set is this green backer piece. I'm going to turn on tab generation with a little toggle over here. Looking at this, you can see you have at least two options, auto and manual, but you actually have a couple of more. You have also by number of tabs and by spacing. So the first way we're going to talk about it is by number because that's the easiest one. So this piece is 5.5 inches tall and 4.5 or so wide. What we can do is we can tell the system, hey, I only want 2 tabs across this entire piece. Those tab sizes can be 1/2 millimeter. You can change this by physically typing if you want a full millimeter. I don't recommend it with wood, but you can. I'm just going to go ahead and take that back down to 1/2 millimeter. Now the cut power, it defaults to 0, meaning it will stop, move, and start. I actually hate that. It will cause splitting with wood. It can cause a chip in acrylic. So what I do right here is I will drop that power. Whatever usually is around 50% to 60% of whatever number I have up here, I'll just put that down here. And what that allows the machine to do is cut less, okay? So if you know that your settings are dialed in for your power, you can pretty much estimate if you only want to cut about half, that is the power you put in here. Now, what will happen is somewhere on this piece, it will have 2 cut tabs, meaning it will not cut all the way through and it will hold that green backer piece high up in the actual material. Now you'll see it shift because it has cut 99% of the actual piece. So let's talk about the other way before we move on to a couple other examples. You can also, that same piece, change by number to by spacing. Now, if you'll see, I am in inches for the imperial measurement up here. If you hit Command or Control K, you can swap between. Now it shows millimeter. However, these will always stay in millimeter. So it's really good to have a Google or Bing or Firefox tab open that has a millimeter to inches conversion, so you can make sure you're putting the right tab size in here, especially if you're new to working with metric. So it has kept my settings, right? So it has kept the 0.5 and it has kept the power. This is how many millimeters distance you want. So like if you want it every 2 inches, you can say, oh, it's 25.4 mil is about an inch. So you can say, oh, I'd like about 51 or so, right? So you can actually manually set that here by spacing. But if you come into the manual tab, your whole world is going to open up, okay? So you can see it has kept my cut and size, but watch what happens when I select manual. Right now you have, like, if you're in the editing mode screen for a vector, you can see the only thing you're editing is whatever you had selected. When you are done, you actually have to indicate you are done so it saves those settings. So if I hover over this path, you can see I get a crosshair and I can add a tab. If I hover over a red dot, I can remove that tab, right? So let's say I don't care about this center dot, right? Like right here, I don't care about that. And I don't need all of these. All I need is just to make sure that that doesn't fall down. And that's good, right? It's only 5 inches, 5.5 or whatever inches tall. So 3 points of contact, that is not going to fall down and get over lasered. So now I can go ahead and click done. So that piece alone, and only that piece, because that's the piece we had selected, will have 3 points of contact that it is only going to cut 55% power over. And I'll show you what that looks like. Now, if we have something like this, which is a little bit more advanced, right? We want to keep all individual cutouts here. We just turn on our tab generation. Now here, I would recommend you really understand how big your pieces are, because if I say, okay, I only want 2 tabs for this piece, that does not mean 2 tabs for this outer piece. It means 2 tabs for every single piece inside that you have a cut function. Okay, so if we were to go over here and look in manual, that means 2 tabs for this little star and 2 tabs for this brachiosaurus, everything, including 2 tabs for these little, right? We don't need those. We don't need 2 tabs for each of these little stars. But let's say you do want 2 tabs for the brachiosaurus, but you don't like that one because you're worried that that little part will fall off. Well, that's okay. We can just add a tab right here. Or you can add a tab a little further back to make sure that you don't break off a delicate item. Same thing down here. We want it in the chunkier part of that guy. We only want 1 here. This is an extremely robust way that we can actually make sure that we don't have a fallen piece get lasered over. So again, I'm going to go ahead and hit done. Now we have the same option on anything that is floating. You can see that this is a group, right? This is a whole bunch of different pieces. You can ungroup it if you would like and set each piece differently, or you can do the same thing, again, by number, by spacing, or in manual mode. Now let's see what that looks like in practice. Okay, so for this piece, I let this one fall. Right? I just stopped the processing manually, picked it out, and then set every tab that I wanted. Now for each of these, I only used 1 tab because that's all I needed. The entire thing will process the rest of it. It will process the insides, it will process the outsides, and then let's look at it out. So you can see after it's done processing, instead of getting a piece like this, you pick up this whole piece, and then you'll see, like, I have to actually move this out. Now look very closely right here. I'll put my hand behind it. You see that little bit of wood against the char? That is the tab. And you can see when I press all of these are not coming out. I like to go on the back side and press them out, or you can actually cut them with an X-Acto knife. Either of these methods will work. It just depends on how you like to process your material. These are amazing like this if you'd like to sell kits, by the way. Love that. So I hope this gave you a good overview of how and when to use tabs when you are using the cut processing mode. If you have any questions about this, just let me know down in the comments section below. As always, thank you so much for being here. Share this out to a group of laser crafters you might think who would find this useful. And please like the video and subscribe. Thanks for joining me.